and asked them to tell me if there was anything else that was impeding it. Balance, alignment, diet, exercise. Sounds like self-love, I said. Yes. Honoring the body, the spirit. It's a circular thing to nourish, honor the body and the spirit. So I asked for what other imbalance in the body we should look at. The throat, meaning what you say and saying what you mean. Resistance to allowing herself to speak truth. Fear of being punished. What does that fear look like? Psychological torment. She must stay away from negative people, including her family. She doesn't realize how toxic they are to her. Is this ancestral? I asked. Some of it is karma. Some of it is suffering in the family. Does she have a role to play in releasing this family karma? I asked. Knowing of other cases. I asked this because of other cases I know where history of abuse was something that the person needed to help the ancestors resolve. No, only her own. It's not ancestral karma with this particular family. So that was clear. Not with regard to this client. Is she carrying any karma? I asked. Yes, from a previous life. So then I asked the higher self to take us to that previous life. So it was in Great Britain, it was in Ireland. The year 1901, she's male, she's a priest. A priest in Ireland. A lot of pride and arrogance. Misuse of power. Children are vulnerable. I use the religion to justify treating them terribly. Physical abuse? Yes, at times. Sexually? No. Orphans, students, I asked. Orphans. I'm a high-ranking member overseeing. A higher up. Overseeing their spiritual redemption. Are you in charge of that? Yeah. There's a saint in particular that I use. Benedict. How do you use him? To hammer into the children moral goodness and spiritual wholesomeness. I see Saint Benedict. I see the children off alone, wondering why, bewildered, why I'm so cruel. They have no one to stand up for them. Cruel in what way? I asked. Harshness. It seemed the only way to keep control. Is there any one particular incident that you regret? I asked. Seeing them sitting somewhere like a railroad track and they're alone in the world. They're bewildered by the cruelty and there's no one there to tell them that it's wrong. There's no one there to tell them that they're good children. And my client started crying, the feelings of this. There's no one there to love them. They're just, I feel so bad when I see what happened to them. But I was so arrogant. They're just innocent boys. So I let her feel the feelings and for a little bit. And then I asked the personality of that life to move forward to the last day of your life. And he saw himself in a room with red drapes, curtains everywhere. I'm lying in the bed, but I can see myself outside of my body. Is there anyone with you? One other, a priest. So I asked him to take his last breath of that life, and as you leave your body, where do you go? To the light. Who meets you there? A sister, a nun. She's smiling. And then what happens? I lose all sense of who I am, of who I was. I'm being brought to a table. There are beings around the table. I'm called to the table to review. Do you know these beings around the table? I do and I don't. It's strange. I feel like I should know them, but I don't remember who they are. My life purpose was explained and compared with my actions. And what was your life purpose in that life? To acclimate to Earth. Was this your first life on Earth? No. To acclimate for a specific purpose. Did you succeed? Somewhat. The purpose was to be segregated in a role, to do with divinity, to acclimate for life connecting with the one Creator, for the raising of consciousness on Earth. And in what ways did you succeed? I asked. I established grounding Earth while approaching a bridge to Creator, setting up a foundation, but I didn't achieve any breakthrough. What stopped you? Do you understand? Distraction, arrogance, lack of focus, the power, to be able to abuse the power, to take it out on vulnerable children, total egotist role-playing. I became blind to my own purpose. What does the council tell you then? The council being these beings around the table. What do they tell you as the consequence of all that? They see it all as an illusion. They're just very lighthearted when they explain, here's what you did right, here's what you did wrong. You grounded in Gaia, you acclimated yourself to Gaia in this role, where you were segregated to receive divine consciousness. But they're not upset with me, so they're not punishing you. No, we're just talking. It's all an illusion. That life on Earth, not the council? Yes. And you see it now? I lost sense of who I was, like taking off a Halloween costume or something. So what happens next? Next, I see and feel everything that happened in that life from all perspectives. Everything. Can you see it from other people's perspective too when you're with the council? When we're done talking about what happened during the review of the life, I see through all of their eyes. I am the little boy on the train track. I feel everything he feels. And how empty his heart felt growing up into the man that he was. He was a good man. They were good children. There was a hole in their heart where there should have been love. What happens next? I asked. I just feel very light. Everything is done. I just feel light, airy, full of potential, like I'm waiting. Do you know what you're waiting for? I asked. No, just feeling light and airy. What happens next? I see a red dragon head. It's flying somewhere. Intense look in its eye. It's over a forest, a very old forest. I can see the sun reflecting, creating a beautiful color on the red skin. Are you the dragon or are you watching the dragon? I asked. I don't know. I'm just watching. I'm with dragons. I'm with the dragons, some of them. Are you flying over the earth or somewhere else? I asked. Somewhere else. Are you going somewhere? Yeah. So is the dragon taking you somewhere? Yes. Let's find out where you go, I asked. I see it's flying ahead and it fades. I feel I do something with them. I just do something with them, with the dragons. There's a place where there's more than one of them. Are you one of them, I asked, or are you there to be with them? I feel like I'm just there to be with them. I do something with them. I don't know what any of that means. It feels like they know, like there's some kind of bond with them. I just don't know how it fits, she said. I'm not sure what the relationship is, but it's a very close bond. Do you learn from them? I asked. Yes. What are you learning from them? They're just sentient. Their ways, their views, their way of life just have a strong bond. I just feel a lot of love for them. And then we had another bathroom break. She observed the visuals just kind of come and you just go with it. But then you start feeling stuff. Like I could feel the love for these dragons. Like I remember that. So after the bathroom break, I asked her to go back to the dragons scene and just feel the love. Just use that love to connect her back to the state she was in before the break. And she said, so she's feeling that strong bond again. So we could have explored the dragons more, but this session was already getting kind of long and we had more things to do. So I asked her to move forward to something else that is significant to preparing for her current life. I see a room in a castle. I think there's a crystal ball, a clear one. A dark room. Seems I live there. I have robes on. They seem like blue or dark. I feel female, very delicate features. I can't get enough of... I just see books, symbols, what look like runes or something. I literally cannot get enough knowledge, and this is what I do. I spend a lot of time in the moonlight. I see a balcony of some kind in the moonlight. I like to be under moonlight. So I asked, is this the Earth's moon or another? It's like the Earth's moon, but whether I'm on Earth, I have no idea. My life is dedicated to acquiring knowledge. It's my passion. I pore over these books. Do you interact with any other people? I asked. I give advice. People come for advice, the same as I give them direction on what to do with their problems. I give them insight, some of the knowledge that I've acquired to help them fix things like energy imbalances, like illnesses. The amount of knowledge that I've acquired in this place, it feels like I've lived a very long time in this lifetime. And people who come to me for advice are in their 40s and 30s. They have no knowledge of things that I study. I have a totally different mindset than them. They go and they live lives like tending to their farms and livestock, and they come to me as needed. They're on a totally different wavelength. Can you guess what time period it is? If it's Earth, medieval, or pre-medieval? Pre-medieval. The castle is quite medieval looking, but it doesn't feel as recent as medieval. It feels older. I feel like I lived a very long time in this body, beyond what would be normal. I see these adult people, and they have so little knowledge in the span of their lifetime compared to what I know. It seems like I've been alive for hundreds of years. It would take them hundreds of years to learn and know the things that I know. That's why they come to me. So you have knowledge about healing and other things? Yes. So I suggested, let this be a bridge between that life and your current life, where that knowledge, as appropriate, comes into your current life so you can learn about energy healing. Bring it forward through a golden filter so that the useful stuff comes through. So at this point, the session had already been about 2.5 hours long, so I asked her to move forward to the end of this very interesting life. And in fact, she said, it seems I was killed. She was executed with a sword by some hooded character, and I could have asked more questions about that, but we needed to move through and finish answering her questions for now, for this session. And so I had her go to the end of the life and drift away from the scene. And she said, I'm just looking at my body from above, looking at how delicate it is, the color of the dress, the layers. And what was the purpose of that life? Manifestation, acquiring of wisdom. And there were lessons in balancing of energies, lessons that she can learn, bring forward into this life. So then I asked her to take me to when you were planning for your current life. She said, I see myself looking at Earth with others, very concerned because of how much pain and turmoil, and the fact that Gaia is a living sentient being. And there's such a density of energy around her that you could cut it with a knife. It's so dense, it's choked, as if it's encased in rock. The energy's so dense compared to other realities. We're very concerned with how toxic it is, and the citizens are like walking under dark clouds, breathing polluted air, totally unawake. I'm feeling there's a role in waking people up. Like the frequency is one thing, but it's waking people up, trying to get them to snap out of the sleepwalking state that's holding Earth in such a low vibration. It's like crushing density. It's almost like they look like zombies to us walking around. They're so dense. They're just walking around in circles, getting nowhere. They don't realize what it's like to really be alive. It's hurting Gaia. This also has the potential to affect other places, this density. It's sort of an anomaly, like it's infested, hijacked, infested. Gaia's not supposed to be functioning this way, but that's the way it's functioning right now. So you're making the decision to come, I ask, for a time. And what's your mission? To try to wake them up, to try to break through the locked frequency of their consciousness. It's like they're tuned into a specific frequency, and everyone is more or less within a limited spectrum of this frequency on the planet. And their consciousness is capable of so much more than this. But they've never known what it is like to be alive on this planet without being broadcast in a limited frequency. And so they just say that's the way it is. They don't even consciously say that. It's just the way it is. Are you able, I asked, to see from this vantage point what it is that has a hold on the planet? Very nasty beings, using it as a resource, using it for their own selfish purposes, and I can't see who or what it is. I'm just focused on the people and on the earth. So I asked, are you aware of beings from other places like yourselves who are coming in, looking at Earth? Yes, we're all looking at Earth together, a bunch of us, different beings, different forms, but all the same collective concerns. Very much concerned about how this could end, how it could affect other civilizations. So we decide to get involved. Life doesn't have to be this way. Are you aware of a plan? I see myself almost like, oh, the energy's just so dense. It's like there's an energetic smog on the planet. And then a stronger voice came in again, as it had before, a stronger, less hesitant voice, like the higher self coming through. So you can hold frequency, but I see myself more like waking people up. Like I see myself snapping my fingers in front of them, like, wake up, wake up. So you can imagine doing that to wake them up? Yes, because collectively, if they're awake, we can better deal with this situation. So, you've been on Earth before. At this point, you know what it's like? Yes. Does it look worse, I asked, than when you were here before? Yes. Very dense, very dark. So what's the collective plan, I asked? To liberate Gaia. And how are you going to play a role in that? Doing my best to bring in the energy of the infinite creator, to hold frequency and to wake others up. Now you've been here before, and you know you're going to forget who you are and where you came from. Do you have any plan to help you remember? I'm just drawn toward God. That leads to, I see the lack of love in those around me early on, and I yearn for more. There's something that I remember. I don't know if it's in dreams, something calms me, draws me to something more beautiful than what I'm experiencing, whether it's fantasy or reality. I want to recreate that for others from a place of love. So, I said, your natural urge to do that will come through the amnesia of incarnation? Yeah. Do you have a specific role for the client to play besides holding frequency? I see healing the earth, healing a river or a forest, but I don't see anything clearly. So I said, bringing through energy, healing energy that heals a place, restoring, uplifting, charging it, attuning it with the vibration of the one, lifting it out of this density. Like my love for Gaia just naturally draws me to want to do this. Bringing love, energy. Plants already hold the frequency of love, but there's been a lot of harsh energies. So I said, learning to bring through healing energy by working with people to start with would teach you more about working with healing energy for the earth. Does that make sense? Eventually. So then I said to link it with her questions about what work she should be doing or looking for. And you said energy healing, working with people, plants or animals, life forms, in terms of a path or direction that might take her all the way to healing parts of the planet. Does that make sense? Yes. Now my client had some questions about relationships and why she blocks out other people. What's the source of that? She feels she puts up walls. They're not a vibrational match. So should she be worried about that? It can lead to isolation, but she needs to be careful about dealing with toxic people. So I said it's okay for her to be discerning. Yes, discerning, but not writing people off. There will always be a mismatch. But there are also commonalities that just come with being human. But there will always be a frequency difference. She will always know she's different. Is she ready to accept that? I asked, and accept herself for who she is. She doesn't want to think of herself as different. Different has always meant bad and rejected. In her life, that is. Or to feel special, I asked, or any better? I suppose that has been modeled in her life, I asked. She can have meaningful relationships, but she needs to be patient. Don't let the frequency difference irritate her. She can lower her frequency and bring it back up. So I said, that's a level of mastery she can work towards? Yes. Mastering her frequency, I said, being more aware of where she's vibrating and still be effective waking people up? Yes. Even without lowering her frequency too much? I asked. Not so much that it affects her and throws her off balance, so that she feels drawn into the despair of the low vibration frequency. In particular, I asked, she wonders about finding a life partner. Is that likely? And I asked this question several ways, and there was no answer. There were long pauses, and then she just said, there's no answer. So some things are not meant to be known, at least for my client. So then I asked the higher self to do a body scan, and she got some advice about her diet, her digestive system. She needs to be on anti-inflammatory foods and move more towards a raw vegan diet. Now that's for my client. I think we need to be careful. Everybody's in a different phase. Everybody's different. For my client, that's what she needed, was more of a raw vegan diet for her. I asked then about the solar plexus, given the entities that had been released, and asked her if there was anything that makes her more vulnerable to entities coming into her energy field. Emotional vulnerability, but this has this is becoming rectified through meditation practice, stabilizing of the mind. So the meditation practice will help to not create vulnerabilities for attachments. Is she able to send attachments to the light herself? She doubts herself. She needs to create strong boundaries for herself, and that's just very, very important. That's what she needs to work with at this time. So it had been a very long session, and we needed to move towards the end of it. So I asked, why did you bring her here today? She was too lost in her mind, just needed some assistance to help her see beyond the limitations of the mind holding her back with the negative thinking and negative chatter, reiterating the same things that she's been told. Well, I said she's certainly been given a very broad perspective today. And the higher self said, it's much more than just this. So I asked for any final messages. You have come with divine purpose. Stop thinking of yourself as small. I asked, are there any messages for humanity as a whole? You are loved beyond measure. Please love yourselves beyond measure. So I asked about upcoming changes for the earth. Will there be a big event? Will it be gradual from our perspective as incarnated beings? And the answer was, some events will occur in booms in the short term. In the long term, there's greater healing toward ascension. We're on the cusp of the booms, shock waves that will awaken humanity. The future is very bright, very much. And my client has a role to play. We all do. And that was the end of the session. So I encourage you to look at my website, heatherholm.ca, if you would like to learn more about the kind of work I do.